guys, Tbo2 here, back with another episode of TARDIS tutorial. For this episode, I am supposed to be joined by Chicken Man, but he doesn't seem to be here? Chicken Man will arrive shortly. Huh. Interesting. Oh my goodness, what?
Hello!
Oh, here he is.
It's me, the guy.
Perfection.
Howdy everyone. It's me, the guy behind the scenes.
Yay.
I'm gonna be helping Teeb today with some of the explanations of what we've been doing.
Me being fancy here with a face cam for once. Okay,
yep,
so
that's us.
Basically today is the video I've been promising for like 3 weeks. Basically getting Regeneration to work in multiplayer. It's very, well, I was going to say it's very simple, it kind of isn't, but anyway, point is, let's both get ourselves to be Time Lords and just demonstrate this stuff. Okay, so you'll see that there's this new message, and it basically tells you there's a bug that can cause the regeneration not to work. Waiting 1 to 2 minutes after becoming a Time Lord will usually solve it. I believe that bug featured in the last video about regeneration, but we've added that little message just to warn you, and then we did add a precaution for when that happens, so hopefully it happens just to demonstrate my point. Okay, so yeah, we can't seem to get it to work, which is ironic given the fact that it's a bug. But basically the bug where when you regenerate for the first time after giving your cycle, it sometimes just flat out won't work. It'll respawn you at your spawn point. Basically we tried to fix that. We add that little message that tells you that there's a bug.
The whole system's a little bit inconsistent at the moment with how it, like, when that weird bug happens, you don't know when it's going to happen. So some things like this thing that gives you a compass and resets your death count are there just for debug purposes, but until the whole bug is fixed in the first place, it's a little finicky to use.
Yes, but on the bright side, at least we have a fix for the bug that half works. I mean, better than no fix at all. Okay, so how does this all work? Well, we go downstairs, as always.
The pit.
The pit of commands. The pit of bugs and...
A bit of confusion.
Yes. Very usefully labeled confusion.
Hello, welcome to my pit. Alright.
Yes.
Let's...
Okay, let's start from the beginning. There's been a lot of changes since you guys last saw this place, obviously. We've basically had to completely revamp a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yep. So the system starts here, in fact, pretty fundamentally, and the fact that there are now 2 scoreboards to control it. So beforehand, I believe there was just a scoreboard called Regenerations, and what that did was, well, it detected when you ate the golden apple, and it also controlled when you died and stuff. I believe it was tied to a death count and everything. It didn't work very well. It was one of the things that limited multiplayer compatibility. So now there's a separate scoreboard, and I'll type that in the chat here. All right, so there's the command there, and I mean, you would obviously replace yeet for whatever you wanted. We called it AppleEats here. If you see in this command block,
there we go.
It's labeled that, and it does essentially the same thing it did beforehand. You can see the 1 ... thing is just means that if it has 1 or more, that's what that equates to, then it'll trigger all these. These are
basically the same, but with the renamed command, or, well, scoreboard thing.
As the Time Lord, this thing displays a title. This thing displays another title. This sets the person who eats the apple, that's the selector, to 12 regenerations, and we've just got it displayed on the right with the set display command.
Yes.
And then here it sets their deaths to 0 as sort of a debug method. And then right here, it removes the AppleEats scoreboard. So this whole thing is just dedicated to giving them the Time Lord tag, and that was a big part of what was making it buggy in multiplayer. So pretty much just this is a copy and paste thing. You just look at all these commands,
Yes,
import them in, and they work.
A lot of what we kind of fixed is just helping out with kind of targeting the specific player. So the Chameleon Arch, I believe, is pretty much exactly the same, but again, we just changed the selectors to make it target at the player who is specifically holding the Chameleon Arch, so yeah, pretty much otherwise exactly the same. This limit thing is basically exactly the same. Let's just go through to in order of the commands that are activated. So here we go, cycle on the event of a death. So if the Time Lord has the score of deaths is 1, then it is going to execute at that Time Lord, run scoreboard players remove at S, 1 regeneration. I believe that's basically the same. And then summon regen respawn when health is 0. That is that villager. So execute if that same Time Lord, well, just any Time Lord has a health of 0, then basically it'll summon the villager at their location. And up here we have TP regen respawn to that player, just so it's facing the same direction. When you then actually respawn, it's still very similar to how it was, but point is, so we TP the Time Lord with a health of 20 and deaths equals 1, so health to 20, the moment you respawn basically, it'll teleport you on repeat to regen respawn the villager, and then we have this execute at regen respawn. If that Time Lord with the health of 20 and the 1 death is within a very close distance, then it'll basically kill regen respawn and remove the Time Lord tag from that player if they have 0 regenerations left. Basically, that's when you get to the end of your cycle, basically. Okay, so the next thing would be this over here, and this basically executes once regen respawn is gone. It will set the player with death count of 1 back to 0. And so that is basically everything for last time. And there's this toggle keep inventory. Basically, if there's Time Lords existing, it'll set keep inventory to true and then revert it back to false otherwise. Okay, and then at the end of your cycle, finally, we have executes at the player with no regenerations and a respawned health of 20. Teleport them to themselves. That basically just is an excuse to execute this command. Probably isn't necessary, but that's okay. And it'll basically remove their Time Lord tag and then immediately after reset their regenerations to 0. Okay, that's everything I believe from last time. And now basically all the stuff in the middle and some of the stuff at the end of the room is a little different. So yeah, this is just a couple of cosmetic things really. So give the villager invisibility as it dies. It's exactly what it sounds like pretty much.
So it doesn't. That makes it so that you can't see the villager keeling over, right?
Yes, correct. And basically it just when the player with the health of 20 and deaths of 1 is within a distance of 2, it'll obviously do invisibility for 10 seconds. Basically, yeah, just so that you don't see a villager falling over dead. Okay, so these ones
the guy has them.
are the actual regeneration effects, which you saw, like I said, were revamped. So there's particles coming out of your head like normal. I believe that's what this one is, but I also have ones coming out of the player's hands. And basically, yeah, that would be these ones because we have these little carrots, which basically just mean in relation to where the player's looking, I believe is what those mean, correct?
Which parts of it?
In like this second command block, for example, there's like carrot marks instead of tildes.
Oh, the little up arrow point things?
Yes, those.
Yeah, those are just those target where the player is looking rather than like relative to their coordinates.
Yes, just so that the particles are facing the right way and then they're positioned in such a way that it's kind of coming out of the player's hands, just to give that extra little effect. And it's basically the same here. And then this finally is for the sound, which that's basically the same as one would expect. Okay, and finally, we have this. Execute if Timelord scores Regenerations is 12, then it's a very long delay. So basically, right when the player gets their regeneration cycle, it'll give them a little message and tell them that there is that bug that happens, basically. And you'll be given instructions if the bug occurs. So this is for debugging the thing. So if it actually fails, this is what you want to come to. So first regen fail bug message. So it'll execute as a Time Lord with regenerations of 11, meaning they've regenerated once, and their deaths is 1, unless regen respawn, meaning if regen respawn didn't spawn, or at least not near them, and they have just regenerated, then it'll basically test for that, basically assuming the bug happened, and it'll give you another little message giving you instructions on what to do, which is basically just use the compass that is given to you. And basically it gives you a compass with the name of Regeneration Debug. And what does that do? Well, over here, Regen Debug. And so if you're holding the compass named Regen Debug, then what happens? Well, it'll set the player with a deaths of at least 1 and a tag of Time Lord. They'll set their deaths to 0 because basically the deaths would have gone through, and that would be a problem if the deaths just kept going since it's the whole regeneration is obviously supposed to words. It relies a lot on testing if you have 1 death, and if you don't, then that's obviously a problem. So basically,
you covered the whole like deaths scoreboard in the previous one, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, if they have, they'll set their deaths to 0, and it'll kill regen respawn if it did spawn, which sometimes it doesn't. And then basically it'll give you another message saying that you should be able to regenerate normally now. So yeah, that is maybe everything. Is it?
I think so. Did you cover these two, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then this. Covered all these.
Yeah,
cover the specific command block.
Yeah, so I think we got everything. So yeah,
use that sword on every single command block in here.
If all that is exceedingly exceedingly confusing, the commands will be in the description, and it'll be very helpful since I did not realize that my face cam was covering up some of the commands. So since the AppleEats is now the one that actually detects when you eat an apple, the scoreboard for regenerations, which is on the side of the screen right there, basically is a dummy scoreboard now, meaning, yeah, it really doesn't record anything, but, yeah.
So what you would do is just type that in first, and delete it, and then replace it with that other one. Just setting it to a dummy. And
yes.
That'll take care of that. That way, when you eat the apple, it won't set it to 1.
Yes, so change that to a dummy, and then have AppleEats, and then do everything else we said, basically, and you should be good. And obviously, one more thing I just want to cover is we obviously removed the whole cycler because that was basically completely unnecessary since we're using scoreboards to keep track of the amount of regenerations. Especially since the cycler did basically the exact same command every single time. So yeah, that was pointless, so it was removed.
Our infinite wisdom.
But yeah, that should be everything covered that needs to be.
Okay, well guys, that's been the video. Hope you enjoyed the feature and my cool presence on here. Make sure to subscribe to the Tbo2 YouTube channel and follow his socials, Tbo2YT and Tbo2YT Instagram and Twitter, and join the guys' Discord. It's pretty cool. We're all cool on there. So yeah, have a good day. Goodbye.
Goodbye. That was awesome.